Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery. It's a beautiful Thursday morning. It is Veterans Day, November 11th, 2021. So thank you for all of you that have served or have family members that have served. Today is really the fourth and I guess final part of the rollout of the new 60-day credit sweep program, which we announced on Monday. Then on Tuesday, we announced the white label roll, and we'll summarize that here in a minute. It's listed there on the screen in green. And then yesterday, we talked about the onboarding process, how to get onboarded as a new 60-day credit sweep white label partner. And so today is part 4 of 4, which is to talk about some best practices for developing clients if you are a white label partner. So let's go ahead and follow the screen and dig in. So certainly the highlights of the white label 60-day credit sweep program includes the fact that this is a resource that can be offered to individuals at large, but it certainly is a valuable resource for our access to capital clients that are coming up short in terms of credibility and fundability from that C. Remember, there's 3 C's when it comes to borrowing money: credit, cash flow, which is sometimes called capacity, and collateral. Here we're talking about the first C, the credit. So this can again be offered to access to capital clients to help them move forward, or to the population at large. There is, of course, no cost to become a white label partner. You set your own pricing, so I don't know what you'll earn. You'll determine that. But for the way that most of you are pricing it, we talked about best practices for pricing yesterday. Most of you are charging a very small amount for the client to get started, deferring the balance for 60 days, and then that's where the client sees the results and pays the lion's share of the fees, but that's up to you. It is a great resource to help clients start improving their credit very quickly. It certainly is a legal program. It certainly is effective. We've gone through the success stories. We've created multiple YouTube videos on success stories. So we've all seen that. It is a guaranteed program and it is affordable. How affordable it is, I guess, frankly, is up to you because you're the one controlling the pricing as a white label partner. It's instrumental because so often people want to call this credit repair. It is not credit repair. It's paralegals developing the documents necessary to block applicable negative items under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, Section 605B. It is not credit repair. It's not a system of dispute. It's not credit repair. We were talking about success stories, I guess, didn't we? And then the resource site, you can just put 60-day credit sweep and it's forwarded here. All right, so that's all kind of old news, right? What we're going to focus on today is talking about best practices for developing new clients. And it's exciting to see Renee this morning already, or she might have emailed yesterday, but I saw it this morning talking about setting up a relationship with churches. And that feeds very nicely in to the first of the best practices for developing clients, which is getting referrals. I guess when you just see those 2 words, it probably understates the value of that. But if you have a resource that can help people solve a problem that they have, and that there are others that know people or have a sphere of influence over people that might need that, it makes a lot of sense to connect. I would never recommend that a white label 60-day credit partner just try to go it alone. There's just literally no reason to just try to scratch out and claw out clients. So the number one, you remember David Letterman back in the day, the number one best practice for developing 60-day credit sweep clients is to create relationships with others that have a sphere of influence or contacts that need better credit. If you and I were to go to, how about any of the big credit repair companies, trying to think of the big Lexington Law is what I was trying to think of, Lexington Law. And so if you went in and you bought out the ownership of Lexington Law, and so, you know, it's a multi-million-dollar business, credit repair, not what we're doing, but helping people with credit. So that's the analogy. Where would you tell your reps to go first? Mainly in-house phone reps. You would go to where there are influencers that have clients that need better credit to buy something. So you have a very motivated client, because usually people don't want better credit just because they want self-esteem. They usually want to use that credit. They want the utility of credit. So historically, credit repair companies, which we're not a credit repair company, but historically credit repair companies, their bread and butter have usually been by marketing to realtors and or mortgage loan officers. So that's the bread and butter of the credit repair industry. So while we're not credit repair, would it make sense if you developed relationships with realtors and mortgage loan officers so they knew that you had a resource, the 60-day credit suite? Absolutely. If you don't do that, it's very unusual, because that's where there's a whole lot of motivated people. Now, it's a bit of a crowded space. I know that I'll go sit down with the mortgage loan officer, go meet in their bank, their office, or their bank if they work for a bank, and discuss what we do and how it's different. And almost all of them already have somewhere that they're sending their clients currently that have challenged credit, but usually it's not working well. And therefore, this is an opportunity to show that you have a better resource. It's a different type of model, isn't it? So without doubt, if you're trying to work in the credit space, marketing to, and we'll talk about how you don't have to do the marketing in just a moment, but marketing to creating awareness with realtors and mortgage loan officers is ground zero for credit improvement, for the credit improvement industry. All right, moving forward. Certainly going to churches is awesome, because as we'll talk about in a moment, you can do a revenue share with them. You can do some credit literacy classes, which we'll talk about here in a moment, the next bullet. But churches are great because they have a strong sphere of influence. Car dealerships are good because, again, they have people that come in and can't get approved. Now, car dealerships are not as good as real estate, because real estate's a bigger purchase. We make it less frequent. And so someone that can't get approved for a mortgage today usually won't just keep shopping and find somewhere that they can get approved for a mortgage. Car dealerships are different. When people get really motivated to buy a car, they might keep applying for car credit. They might even end up at the buy here, pay here lot, but they end up with a car. So even though what you and I do is quick in terms of 60 days, that may be too long of a window to really capture automobile buyers in general. So caveat on that. Certainly bankers and lenders, it's been a few years, but we had a few years ago, we had a direct referral source, a USDA lender, a bank out of Tennessee, and they would refer us all of their declines. And we had to build a little, wasn't anything extravagant, but essentially like a call center just to handle the volume. And so if you can develop relationships with lenders and or businesses that are dealing with credit turndowns, that is your best prospect, because that person has a specific reason that they want better credit. They got declined. They're going to be very motivated to do something about it. And in general, businesses that sell high ticket items. And so it could even be a website developer, you know, that's in your community, maybe a member of your chamber, member of your networking group. Well, a lot of the website packages can be more expensive. And so someone doesn't have such good credit and doesn't have any money, then they can't afford it. So then that website developer, you almost become the in-house financing, right, for that website developer. In this example, they come to you, they go through the 60-day credit suite, then you can turn around if you want to plug them into the Access to Capital program to get them the 100,000 or more, which would buy a lot more than a website, right? So hopefully that makes sense. You would want to market to them and they could refer to you. It's up to you, but you could certainly offer them an economic benefit for referring to you. And that'll work in some cases, not in others. So for example, a realtor, they may or may not accept $100 from you, but they would really love you to refer people to them that are looking to buy real estate. Banks are not going to accept $100 from you. So you could do some little nice gifts here and there or take them to lunch, but just depending upon the industry that you're targeting, they may or may not be willing to accept remuneration back. And as we talked about earlier this week, I mean, if you're making around $1,000, and even if you paid out $100 of that as a referral fee, which is obviously 10%, your profit margin is still 90%, 900. And so for most of us, we'd say, yeah, I'd rather make 900 very frequently than say, no, I don't want to pay out any referral fees. I'll sell nothing, but I'll make 1,000 if I ever do sell one. So part of a business model usually includes allocating some portion of your revenue towards marketing, advertising, commissions, what have you. And in this case, you could probably allocate just 10% and it would really drive your volume. Okay, so before we move on to the next bullet, I want to see if anyone has questions, comments, concerns on this. Any of you that have a background in credit, this is redundant, probably not very helpful at all. But if not, maybe it was useful. All right, Winston's asking, back up a little higher. So we've sent all of you that have set up as a white label partner, we covered this yesterday, Winston, we've sent out the onboarding email to you. And the onboarding email included an editable template of the client agreement. And the client agreement describes the guarantee. It's set up turnkey. All you would need to do is put in your name or your business's name, Winston, and then also whatever pricing model you want. But yes, the guarantee is absolutely in writing. Okay, any questions on getting referrals? And I know, when you look at this, it's like, well, of course, any business would benefit from referrals, but it's just deeper than that. This is the fact that there's some people that know a lot. What I like to do is, if I were to speak with a realtor, I would ask, let's just role play for a second, and Zon's on the line. So let's say Zon's a realtor. I'd say, hey, Zon, my name's Tom Montgomery. I got a quick question for you. Do you often run into clients that don't get approved for mortgages because of credit issues? And then I stop talking, I listen, and then Zon's going to say something, and then I'm going to then quickly ask a follow-up question. Well, Zon, if you had to quantify that, how many credit turndowns are you seeing per month? And I'm quiet and I wait for him to respond. Well, if Zon says, oh, 0 or 1 on average per month, then I'm not going to spend time with Zon as a referral source, because sure, he's a realtor, maybe he's friendly, maybe I like being around him, but he doesn't hardly have any volume. However, if I were to ask Winston, who's online, the same question, hey, Winston, how many per month, how many credit declines are you seeing per month? Oh, normally 8 to 10. Then I'm going to turn around and follow up and say, well, Winston, that's interesting. What are you currently doing to help those clients that are credit declines? And I'm going to stop and listen. And so there's going to be one of two options Winston will probably respond with. Either he's referring them somewhere now to a credit repair company, which we're not, and we'll come back to that if he says that, or not much. And so It could be that Winston in this example is not really doing anything with them. He's just dropping those leads. And it's like, wow, what if we could help you, Winston, turn those 8 to 10 people into qualified buyers? What would that do to your business, Winston? Winston's going to be nearly orgasmic, right? Because when he starts thinking about, well, I already had marketed, already had generated that lead. And if I could sell 8 to 10 more houses a month, my God, man, it'd be great. So if Winston's doing nothing, then I help him reframe it as if, what if we could help him get those people fundable, credible for their purpose? What would it do for him? If instead he said, oh, I'm sending them to Lexington Law, for example, I'd say, oh, okay, how's that working? Has that been pretty effective? Have you noticed normally within 60 days, Lexington Law is getting them back to you and ready to qualify for a home mortgage? And I stop and I listen. And you know what Winston's going to say? No, 6 months later, 9 months later, we're wondering what's still going on. So those are the steps that I would go through talking to realtors and mortgage loan officers. And those are ground zero for getting credit referrals. Okay, so let's move on to the next of the best practices. Now, you hear me say this, and some of you are tired of it, but I used to be a public school teacher, and I left there, and I was a college professor. And so my orientation is to go out and lead with literacy and use that as a funnel to create clients. I realize that may not be palatable to you. And one more point here. If you don't want to do the marketing, you can have someone else do the marketing to get referrals. And why that ties is I'm going to tell you about the benefits of education for creating a sales funnel. But if you don't want to do the educating, get someone else to go do it for you. That's where you can see that ties. Okay. In terms of the teaching and educating, teaching about credit can draw an audience, obviously a motivated audience, and can create your funnel. I could give you, I want to say endless examples, but that's hyperbole, that's an exaggeration. But I can give you many examples where I've gone out and taught about credit, and it's marvelous. I really have enjoyed in the past going to apartment complexes. I'd go to the property manager, get their approval, get on their calendar, and they would usually help promote it. When I was a high school teacher in Aubrey, Texas, being a high school teacher doesn't pay much. And so this is what I did on the side. And there's one apartment complex that's adjacent to the high school. And so I approached them, and I don't know the particulars, but I guess they have it's a really nice complex, but they have a lot of subsidized housing units. Well, apparently they're required to do some sort of financial literacy to get state money for low-income people for these apartments. And again, I don't know the mechanics of all that, but I know that we set up an event and went and taught it, went real well. And then even after I left the high school, man, they were still following up with me. Can you come back in? Because once a year, they had some sort of requirement. So apartments can be great, churches, libraries. You can team up with any of these types of folks and go in. Ozark Bank, we went in and we did credit literacy at the bank, scheduled in the evening. They kept, well, the lobby was closed, but they made the bank available to us. And we had an insurance agent that came in and provided food and drink, and we taught about credit. I've never taught at a car dealership. I guess that could work. Certainly churches have taught at many different churches, and of course with real estate professionals. So this education can be in person or online, but the goal is to create a funnel by creating trust and relevance and familiarity. As I mentioned before, if you don't want to teach it, I know not all of us have an inclination to want to go teach, and that's okay, but you're running a business, right? If you're a white label partner of ours in the 60-day credit sweep, you want to stop saying, well, I want to do it or I don't want to do it. You got to step back and say, I'm running a business and this makes sense. So if I don't want to do it, who can I go plug in to do it? right? Because no successful business owner does everything himself or herself. At some point, you have to delegate. And so we like to work with hosts when we're teaching. You don't, and some of you will disagree, but I don't like the concept of going and incurring the cost to rent a room and trying to find people desperately to come show up. That's stressful. What you want to do is be the subject matter expert, right? So you'll come in and teach it, but the host needs to provide the room and provide the audience. So as I mentioned, churches, apartment complexes, and realtors are all good prospects for that. We've got a great lesson that you can use. It's called Credit Reports and Scores. We have an instructor's guide, a participant guide, PowerPoint slides, train the trainer video. I mean, it is turnkey and ready to go. It can be taught in a 30-minute segment. It could really be a half day, a 4-hour segment, but what an opportunity to teach. So again, what are we talking about? We're talking about best practices for developing clients. Developing referral relationships is a no-brainer. Teaching and educating is a smart thing to do, but you may or may not want to do it. Next, you could certainly consider joining a networking group. BNI, which we have no relationship with, and there's some other networking groups, but they tend to be the more formal ones are very focused on developing referral relationships and can be very, very fruitful. BNI, so when I worked for State Farm Bank, I wasn't a State Farm agent, but I handled the financial literacy called, what was it called? Money Matters, I think, I forget now, but for State Farm Bank. And so they paid for my membership to BNI, and it was a really great experience. And so BNI and these formal networking groups can really fill your funnel with referrals. And then while the networking group will usually have a fee, then they usually prohibit or no one's expecting an individual referral fee. So you wouldn't have the $100 a pop through a networking group for whomever referred you, but you probably would have some cost to be a member of the networking group. So that's another option you may or may not like. There are databases, let's just scroll it on up, make it a little bigger. There are databases that you can go from. Data Axle, this used to be called Reference USA and Sales Genie, but dataaxle.com with a dash or hyphen there. You can look up businesses and individuals, and you can filter on things like bad credit. Well, guess what? A business owner with bad credit would probably be a pretty good prospect for both access to capital, which is not what we're talking about now, and the credit sweep. You can usually get access to this through your local library if you have a library membership. If not, you can set up a demo account and they'll give it free to you for a couple of days. You know, they're in business to make money. So if you want to have it on an ongoing basis, you pay for it. But most of us just access this through our local library, and then you don't have any cost. But at least you can try it. You go set up a demo account for whatever it is, 3 days, and try it and pull off a list if you wanted. You can filter by location and all kinds of other variables. Certainly you can post on social media and Craigslist. Some of you are really good at this and some not. Craigslist is a little bit of a different animal. You're going to get a really skeptical group of responses in many cases, but you can reach the masses. If you have much of a social media presence, of course, that works well. And you can tie in your teaching. You know, you could teach this curriculum, credit reports and scores, and even live stream it on Facebook if you wanted. I don't profess to be an expert on all of that. It's on the list though. We had one partner who would go into retail environments and promote it, had a really good success. I've got some pictures I'll pull up for a future Zoom, but he actually rented a kiosk at a local mall. His premises go where the people are, and that was very successful for him. Okay, so in the end, if you decide to become a white label partner of the 60-day credit suite, we need a marketing plan. And certainly, I do encourage you to reach out to Scott and consider getting a landing page set up that maybe should have been number one on the list here. But that was part of your onboarding. So the landing page gives you a place for people to go to get into your funnel, regardless of which of these strategies you're using. So do you have to have a landing page? No. Do you have to work with Scott to develop your landing page? No, it really didn't matter to me, but you're going to need somewhere for the leads to go to get into your funnel. And so Scott at smartmoneyalliance.org, that's listed on your onboarding checklist. Strongly recommend that you visit with him, at least about ideas for a landing page, and he can develop one pretty quickly for you if you'd like. That will lead to high conversions. You know, the difference between a landing page and a website tends to have a whole lot of information, and people can sometimes get lost. A landing page, you're driving people in and there's minimal amount of content, but a capture. So normally you're getting their name, their email, and their phone number and a referral source. And so you could argue that the 60-day credit suite page is really more of a landing page than a website. All right, so let's see if you have any questions. Yeah, for scripting, you know, we went through pretty much what I know and what I've used on the mortgage loan officers and realtors, but ultimately, the concept of the white label partnership is we will provide the back end, and you as the white label partner are going to provide the front end, the outreach and the generation of clients. And so it's just important for you to figure out what you're comfortable in doing and how you want to do it. I think all of us should be actively getting referrals, and then the rest of the list is pick and choose what you'd like to do. But I think you would be mistaken to not use this portion if you're going to operate in the credit space. All right, so let's see here. So when you do sign up, if you decide to sign up as a white label partner on the 60-day credit suite, you can do that here. We'll send you the Adobe, you fill out the Adobe, then you get the onboarding email. As we discussed yesterday, the onboarding email has two attachments. It has the client agreement in Word, Microsoft Word, so you can easily edit it for your pricing and your branding. And then also it has the marketing flyer. Our group that develops the flyers for us develops them in Adobe. So if you, and actually like I'm in Adobe right now, so I can, this is an Adobe PDF that we're looking at, but if I download Adobe Pro, which I have here, then I can edit this. So I click edit, and let's say I want to change the date. I change the date, and then I hit save again. So using Adobe Acrobat Pro allows one to change any Adobe file that you want to change. It'll make it look like this. Everything will have little lines around it. You can take logos off. You can add logos. So that's how you edit an Adobe file. All right, so I think we've covered everything. So let's do a quick summary and then we'll end on time for a change. So our goal today was to talk about best practices for developing clients if you are a white label partner of ours on the 60-day credit suite. The credit suite serves an important purpose because it can help the access to capital clients that you may have become more fundable and credible, but also it has applicability to a wider population. In other words, a client doesn't have to be in access to capital to be a client of yours on Credit Suite. This is the fourth part of the rollout. On Monday, we rolled out an announcement of how the credit suite works. On Tuesday, we announced the white label partnership. Yesterday, we went through the onboarding curriculum, and today we're talking about marketing strategies. More information is here. And then we just covered at a high level some areas that you probably should consider when developing your marketing plan of how you're going to develop clients. Getting referrals, teaching, using networking groups, pulling from databases, posting online, and getting out in front of people. Are there any other questions that anyone has before we wrap it up today? Any other questions? All right, well, we'll get after it. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow. Thank you. Bye-bye.